Hey guys, I just wanted to do a little update or addendum to my Diablo 4 review. In that review, I had really one main issue with the game, which has since been remedied as of the patch on June 27th. So I just wanted to give you guys a little update on that and tell you, my updated thoughts on the game as a result. So my main issue with the game was that it just wasn't really feasible for a normal human being, that like works a full-time job and probably has some responsibilities outside of that, hangs out with friends, hangs out with family, maybe has a family, hangs out and like has actual hobbies outside of gaming. It just wasn't really feasible for you to get level 100 in the game. And that was a main complaint to me because I just felt like once you hit like the higher 70s and definitely the 80s, you had basically fully been geared. And now you just hit this wall where the only way you're gaining power is through the Paragon board, and it's taking absolutely forever to level through the Paragon board. Well, as of this patch, it seems that that is actually remedied now. You still have that issue where, you're hitting max power with your gear fairly early, but at least now the Nightmare Dungeon XP has been significantly improved. And I've seen people online say 80%. However, through my own testing, I've seen a far larger increase than that. Previously, I was running Champion's Demise as my Nightmare Dungeon of choice, and I had actually taken several numbers from running that. And I was running a tier 30 Nightmare Sigil, and I was level 79. And I was seeing around 900,000 XP per run. Sometimes I would hit a mill if there was like an event in there or something along those lines, but for the most part, I was seeing right around a 900,000 XP from doing that Nightmare Dungeon. And when you're level 79 and it's going to take 11.5 million XP to level up, that's what led me to say that it's just a huge time sink and it's not very fun because, you can do the math on that. 900,000 XP, you need 11.5 mil. You're having to run the dungeon, 13, 14 times? It's absolutely absurd just in order to get a single level up. Well, that has been changed. Now, when I was running a tier 30 Nightmare Sigil, I was getting 2.2 million XP, which is an absurd increase. That's over double. So I don't really know if the 80% that people are saying has been confirmed. I don't know. I ran it a couple times, and every single time I was over 2 million XP that I was getting. So I have no idea. But one thing I'll say is that it feels incredible now. It feels so much more rewarding. You're not only getting, that glyph XP, which always felt kind of good, but you're also now seeing visible progress every single time you're going through a Nightmare Dungeon. You could just watch the XP bar fill. And the beautiful thing about it is that practically every time you do a Nightmare Dungeon, for sure every 2 times you do a Nightmare Dungeon, you're getting a Paragon point. And I think that pacing is perfect. Like, you still have to run 5 or 6 Nightmare Dungeons in order to level up, but you can see that bar filling as you're going through the dungeon. You are getting a Paragon point fairly consistently. Almost every single Nightmare Dungeon that you do, you're getting a Paragon point. And it just feels so much better. It's far more attainable now for the average person. They've quite literally cut down the grind by half now. So, like, previously, what would take you, 200 hours in one character to hit level 100, I genuinely think you could probably do it in under 100 hours now. I think you could, even without boosting. Like, I'm not even talking about you're getting boosted. I think if you just went in, you skipped campaign, right, and you found the dungeon grind, and then you pushed tier 3, started doing tier 3 Nightmare Dungeons, and then pushed tier 4 Nightmare Dungeons early, assuming that tier 3 Nightmare Dungeons have the same percentage increase that I'm seeing in tier 4, I genuinely think you could probably get to level 100 in sub 100 hours. Like, I think you could probably get there in even 50 hours if you really were hammering through and your build was on point. And that is incredible to see. Now, the kind of funny thing is that while I do think it improves the game for the casual, I am worried that now the hardcore dweebs out there are going to be complaining that it's too easy to hit level 100 and there's not something more meaningful to grind for. But season 1 is really going to determine how they improve the end game, because as of right now, the end game is the nightmare dungeons. And now that you're being significantly rewarded for them, I think that's what everybody's going to do. And as a result, I think we're going to start to see a lot more people that are level 100. In my opinion, I've always been of the state of mind that when you max out a character, you just make a new character, dude. Try another class. It's not that big of a deal. And if you don't want to do that, well, congratulations. You still just put in a significant chunk of change of time into the game, and you've most certainly gotten your money's worth. I don't think every single video game out there has to give you 1,000+ hours, even if it is an ARPG. I don't think they all need to give you that much time. I put quite a bit of time into Last Epoch, but within like 50 or 60 hours, I was like, yeah, I got my money's worth and I've had a really good time, and maybe I'll try some other classes, but I feel pretty solid about this experience that I've had. And I think that's completely fine. I don't think all these games need to be hundreds or thousands of hours long that you can devote your entire life to. I think it's completely fine for a game to come out, have quite a lot of content to the point where if you're going to do all of the dungeons and you're going to do all the side quests and all of that, you're easily looking at over 200 hours, even with the Nightmare Dungeon changes. Like, if you're actually going to do all of the content, you're going to be devoting that much time into the game easily. And then that's completely fine to just wait until the next season and play it as a seasonal title. So I did just want to update my review because previously my main negative was that the leveling just felt extremely slow as you went on, and that was not just a personal complaint. That's a pretty universal complaint from everybody I know that's played the game. All of them kind of agreed upon that. And it's great to see that that's since been remedied. So now I think, honestly, if I was to rate the game, it would go from a 9 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. I think it's about as close to perfect as you can get for an ARPG. I do still think it has that problem where you're basically fully geared by the point that you're like 70 to 80. But now that the leveling from 70 to 100 or 80 to 100 has been cut down so drastically, I think that's actually completely fine, because it does still feel like every nightmare dungeon or every 2 nightmare dungeons, you're gaining power. You're still getting stronger because of the Paragon board. And I think that still feels quite good. So yeah, just wanted to update you guys on that, let you know that if you're not running Nightmare Dungeons, it's most definitely the way to go now. It's significantly better than like everything else. And they also did buff stuff like Whispers, XP, and Helltide chest opening XP, which I didn't even know was a thing. So there is some overworld stuff that's also been buffed. But I think Nightmare Dungeons are just king for sure, and that's what basically everyone is going to be running now. So thanks for stopping by. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see all of you in the next video. It's from Shramroni. Bye-bye.